So again, a child could be distracted by the camera, this, that, and the other, so you might see that they're fixed. Now again, the first thing to rule out, or is that a torticollis? Torticollis, believe it or not, is actually really, again, overlooked. It's only caught about, I would say, what, around the 4-month range, would you say? 6 months range, and by then it's pretty in the system. So, torticollis, I'm sorry, also known as wry neck, but it means that the neck goes to one side. So when you're dealing with an infant, there should be no habitual patterning, period, the end. So if a mom says, oh yeah, he really likes his right hand, no, that's a bad sign. Or he only looks to the right. The problem is torticollis, though, you'll see a lot almost to the right. Why? Because I'm right-handed, and if I bottle feed, guess where the baby's looking? So if I'm here with Madison and stuff, and feeding it, so I'm a very, very hand dominant. So even if babies are bottle fed, I truly recommend actually that they presume more of a nursing feed, because you're meant to twist and digest. I think that's also why bottle fed babies are more constipated, because they're not getting that healthy torque or rotation on the digestive system as they're trying to eliminate. So you can go here, but you also want to offer that bilateral feed. And that's why we're meant to have 2 breasts at work and so forth. That's one of our developmental movement patterns. Not to get off track, but another thing to keep into consideration too is bottle-fed babies, the bottle goes to them. A nursed baby, will go to me, and they will start to pronate, and guess what? There's that pre-crawl, that counterbalance. So, not to say, what if you adopted? What if your milk didn't come in? You had an infection. Just because someone's bottle feeding doesn't mean they're, quote, a bad mom. I get it would be more advantageous to nurse. That's sort of the way we were made. But if it doesn't happen, these movements need to be brought into the system. So when someone, if the neck is not moving properly, you will see, and I'm just going a little bit to, let's say, to the right and to the left. Again, that nose isn't going to cross midline as an example. So that's where immediately I can say, oh, is this a bottle-fed baby? Because again, how many people are left-handed versus right? And I'm just using pure mathematics. Or if you have questions of how that's going, just go a little bit further under the shoulders and just see if you can get right, left like this. This should be a nice healthy, because again, this is a pre-crawl. I should have, my shoulders should be able to do these kind of things. But if you're only getting, let's say, to the right going up is not a good thing, or just left. So let's say if the left shoulder can only come up, and then so you're getting this kind of contraction. But if you're not sure what the next telltale sign is, and this is what I was trying to point out yesterday, you'll start seeing where the elbows come out versus lying down like this. When the elbow is like this, down on the ground, this is the most advantageous to oppose gravity. One of the first things you'll see with the baby is those fingers will start to explore where they are in space. But what they're also doing, you can't feel it because we're so used to it. There's a force that will be here. It's sort of like bringing your hand out of honey into their nervous system, and they're actually learning how to start moving, and you'll see, and some will be spasms. You'll see these spasms that go on kind of thing. That doesn't mean that they are going into CP, but if the spasm is only deliberate, like the one-handed kind of thing. More obviously being the ATNR kind of thing where they're just kind of like. So if you're not sure how the neck's going or you start having concerns, your next one would be that elbow. And again, the elbow should counter. See how their hand goes in and the elbow goes out. So you'll see, I call it, almost like an X, right? Windshield wiper, not good. You want to see more of that counter and counter, right? Same with the feet. If you see feet doing this windshield wiper, I'm telling you the child's going to start having delays. You want that X. So as if, again, there was a point here where the hand go around versus just here. So if you find that you're questioning the right neck, and now you're questioning the right elbow, and then right wrist, okay, it's definitely stemming and going down the arm. Especially too, again, if it's torticollis and they're only looking this way, guess where the eyes are going? This is where, now, even though a baby technically really doesn't see about a good month into it, they'll open their eyes and stuff, but it's not. I have a really sweet video showing just the week by week progression of just the vision. But here, guess what? I see all of this. This arm, out of sight, out of mind. So you'll see very little activity then on the left side as an example. So whereas this here, again, sort of what I was looking forward to, because he was bringing this arm here, but he wanted to reach. He was coming to about here, and that's what I mentioned. My next step I'd want him to start seeing is grabbing the hands and transferring with both hands. I swear it's like right after I said it, he was like, "Oh, okay, that's what you want me to do, lady. Okay, thanks." You're not going to see this per se on newborns, but this will start coming into play. And again, the most purposeful hand functions start coming in would be, again, with the nursing, where the baby's here against me, and it will eventually start playing, and that's a pre-stand.
You notice that so many parents don't know how to play with their children anymore?
Well, this is what's going on, and if you notice,
it's like technology has.
Not the technology even, but
Yeah.
but I get it that if you're going to a restaurant, but every restaurant I go to, the baby's just sitting there in a car seat. Except for these guys. They bring but most babies, you'll just, "Hi honey, how are you?" And the baby's just there in the car seat. It's just, I almost wish they would burn those little, I call them bimbo baskets. It's just, listen, a car seat's to get you to Walmart, but once you're at Walmart, take the baby out.
Michelle, with the shoulders, which is where you suggest we start, you're looking for the counter or the rotation into the opposite side of the
You
chest.
can.
Aren't you?
So you can be here under the neck first, right? And so you can actually do that seesaw, or come in with a little strawberry pose and just lightly rotate.
And when we do that, are we only looking at the arms, or are we looking at what the legs are doing as well?
You know what? You will learn quite quickly that you can't help but look at everything and go, "Oh, I wonder if I roll the shoulder, will the feet start moving," kind of thing. And they should. You should automatically see, just like Madison's doing, a counterbalance through the system. But when you're getting this, you know what I mean? And also, too, if they've been burritoed, like in the NICU and stuff, you will get, and you'll really see this in Max in the newborn assessment, where first of all, the arms are here. They won't even come down to the table. His feet are like here. They won't come down to the table. And he's left, right. So this is where the CP starts. You can do this, and if this, you should see also too, possibly the head move opposite, because again, the counter. But if you are concerned for the neck, and now you have started having concerns for the shoulder, and now there's not that much rotation in the elbow, you already know you have this child's already probably going to score into the 10. That's when immediately you can probably say, was there any time in the NICU kind of thing? Because again, they just are so stationary. I like a two-hand approach when you're working with the baby. You can just do this. It's a baby. The more real estate that I call it, the more you have on a baby, the more you get information. So to come underneath here and do something like this, you can look at what I can have my thumb all the way down to here, my finger is here. Look at how much more information and feedback you're already getting from that central nervous system versus if you were just doing this.
Yeah.
So, and again, if you're just doing the scoring, that's fine. This still works. I just work much more, like I said, where I'm getting feedback. So just like that bowl of water, if you start looking at the baby like this, that they just go in and pool into your hands, just imagine that this is a bowl of water. You're just getting more of that feedback. But that's just personal habits. Both are fine because it is just a baby, but still. And then the foot.
And there you're looking at the ankle or the counter in relationship to the knee.
Technically, the assessment is just looking for the rotation. But yes, with me, I'm always looking for that counter, especially if I question. If I question that rotation of the knee, then I really want to throw in that counter. So if you're really concerned and still are not sure with how the ankle's rotation, which is not in the assessment, you can very easily just take the toes and the fingers, of the system and just see where they're at. But with here, you'll be able to really feel if that heel wants to present out, again, that counter rotation, or you're actually trying to torque the foot, and that means, again, that ankle is just way too stiff. But especially if the ankle is stiff, as you know, for those of you who have done a Feldenkrais training or an ABM kind of thing, when that ankle's stiff, now that whole chest cavity has to somehow organize around that to roll over. So you can do the spine this way now. So I'm just lifting up like this, and I'm just, again, if this is a pre-crawl, you can see it. If you don't get this light twist in the spine, Houston, we have a problem, especially in the spine more so. But technically, you would want to take the baby on its side and just see how gently the spine wants to rotate. But I'm giving you different options because you're doing the training. What if the baby's sleeping? What if the baby's colicky? What if the baby is going into a pre-CP? This might not be the best position that the child wants to go in at the moment. So you need to just allow yourself that little bit to think outside the box. So now this is a great ideal spine movement, but again, if you're getting like almost like you're Gesundheit, knocking on the door kind of thing, that, especially, or two, if it's difficult for you to get your hands under the baby suddenly feels like, oh, it's really heavy, like you really have to lift the child just to get your hands under these are all just little baby warning signs that their system needs some attention to go into.